We're going to close out about the management of benefits. It's a big responsibility, and keep in mind, make certain if you're working in human resources, you understand all the benefits, how it affects the employees. And if you're an executive in HR, make certain you have some top-notch people. You orientate all of your HR employees so they can all be literate in the aspect of what the benefits are and how they define them as you go through. It's a big deal. You really want to communicate, especially if you're paying 40% of the compensation on the benefits. Tell them, we're giving you a fabulous benefit as you go through, and don't be ashamed of it as you go through. Tell them and tell them and tell them again that they're getting a fabulous deal. And this is a cool place to work because not only do we give you a great salary, we give you great benefits as you go through. So by the time it's all done, write it out online, send a monthly notice as you go through. If you have a monthly newsletter in HR, you may want to sit down and feature some of the benefits you have. So-and-so sat down there and they use this benefit over here. Congratulations, thank you very much for that. And by the time you're all done, the wellness program, salute those people, have different aspects as you go through. Never underestimate the value of a benefit. A cafeteria plan, what that means, it's a flexible benefit plan as you go through. It's a shopping list that you give the employees to let them pick and choose. That's a huge thing because you're giving them options that they can sit down and customize the benefits for them. Maybe they have children at home that they want to take care of. That's a huge benefit as you go through. Maybe they don't have any children and are happy for it. Okay, they may have a dog at home. Maybe pet insurance is an option. And by the way, a lot of companies have added that in the last decade as you go through. Maybe you want to have legal services as you go through. Maybe you want to have this as you go through. Maybe you want free Skittles on their desk. Who knows what the benefits are? Choose, sit down there, listen to them. If you can do it in the process, sit down there and have it as a benefit option for them to choose. Let them choose their types and amounts if you can possibly do that. A small company can't do that, but a larger one can actually go through. And it really helps to have a good match between the benefits and their preferences as you go through. And sometimes if you play your cards right on it as you go through, you can reduce the overall cost in your benefit program by providing choices that have them. If you have everybody on a program that's designed for families and you have some single employees sitting over here, you may have a problem. You may sit down and say, this benefit is not matching their needs. They get extra benefits. So maybe 10% of your employees are single. Maybe they prefer to have something else that would benefit them specifically. Maybe you have 2 employees working at the organization as you go through. Well, maybe you can sit down there and provide compensation to them, give them a check. If the benefit package costs $10,000 a year, say, if you sit down and you're already covered by another employee as you go through, we'll give you a check at the end of the year for $5,000. To them, it's a big money because they don't need duplicate insurance as you go through. So think about different options as you go through. Look on ability to reduce the overall cost as you go through. There's a lot of administrative costs, and sometimes you have some adverse selection process as you go through that difficulty as well. There's another thing out there called a flexible spending plan. That being said, you can have a pre-tax contribution to a flexible spending plan. Now, by the way, when they put the money in, they must spend it for that. If they don't, they lose the money. That's one of the problems as you go through. But that being said, it's a pre-tax contribution. It comes off the top of their gross salary up to $2,600, and it's used for usually medical procedures, some type of uncovered healthcare expenses as you go through. It could be that they have cataract surgery coming up and they want to have the $2,600 applied to some type of special implant that is not covered by the insurance. It could be they want to have this surgery. It could be they have this medical procedure coming up. It could be they want to have stem cells, and stem cells are not covered by insurance, but they're covered by your flexible spending plans you go through. This is a nice, handy thing if you're medium to large size company to have as an option as you go through. Flexible spending accounts, by the time you're all done, you look at the pre-tax contribution, you look on the overall thing. By the time you're done, if you don't have it, you actually can sit down and bring more money home by using this if you sit there and have this plan than by sitting down there and not having one as well. It can save your employees a lot of money, and it's another benefit. Usually you're going to hire an agency to administer this for you unless you have somebody on staff that can do it as well. The Affordable Care Act as you go through. There's penalties for not providing health benefits as you go through, and you can sit down. A lot of employers participate in the Affordable Care Act as you go through. They view it as a healthcare alternative than them dealing with the insurance policy themselves. It also increases the Part A of the hospital insurance program for payroll tax for higher income taxpayers. But there's a clause in there on Cadillac insurance plans, and Congress is wrestling with that as we speak. They're recording to this aspect of it. By Cadillac, it's a premium insurance plans, and the government felt that when they first passed the Affordable Care Act, or the ACA, as referred to in the slang in HR, they should go through, that the Cadillac insurance plan should be taxed higher as you go through. One great benefit out of this is that young people are covered by their parents' insurance if they have it up until age 26, which didn't occur before. Typically, they had to be going to college and has different preconditions, but that really has helped an awful lot of young people get on their feet and establish financially as well. It also has some wellness programs associated with it. On all of these things, make certain that your plans are equitable and treats everybody as you go through. Benefit areas, they can be so confusing because there's so many of them and they have different rules. Try to keep it simplistic. Try to make certain that your HR department knows what they're talking about. And when you sit down there, and if you're not in HR, you sit down and listen to them. Try not to fall asleep as they explain the plans. It is pretty tough and pretty complex as you go through. The Supreme Court declared it illegal for employers to require women to contribute more benefit than men. Typically, there's actually a cost difference. It costs more in the insurance for women because of the fact of the different issues they face in the process than men. But you can sit down there and charge them more. It's equitable treatment. They're all employees of the organization. So knock it off is what the Supreme Court said, and we need to do that. The Age Discrimination Employment Act, really the most discriminated group in their society today is actually older workers in the workplace. A lot of times they're moved out for whatever reason underneath the excuse of bringing younger people in the process. That is against the law. That is a big thing in regulatory issues. Make certain you're sensitive because a lot of lawsuits are being brought forward and EEOC complaints as well. The ADA is still a big issue out there. Many employers do comply with it, but those that don't, they face the onerous task not only of dealing with the EEOC, but they also often have to deal with the fact that they'll pass your name around between different federal or state agencies. Say, yo, this employer did this over here, and one agency turns you over to another one. And I've seen it happen before. I've always avoided it, but sometimes you have 2 or 3 agencies breathing down your neck because you violated a couple things in the process. So different benefits and obligations out there. You have different laws. The Society of Actuaries increased life expectancy rates as you go through. How dare you live longer as you go through? Those actuaries, they get you for that every time. So different regulatory issues. These are some of the aspects out there. Overall, communicate the benefits and costs. Develop cafeteria plans as best you can. There's a lot of companies that actually administer benefits out there. You can just sit down and pay a fee, and they'll go out and they'll take your stuff out for bid and everything else in the process, including develop a small cafeteria plan for small companies or a medium size for medium or large as you go through. Flexible spending plans, choose what you want as you go through for putting money aside for healthcare, the Affordable Care Act, and have a solid, uniform administration of benefits as you go through. A lot of retirement plans, just so you know, are moving to self-funding. So the defined benefit, those days they're shrinking and they're much more popular. And so if you get a defined benefit, you want to have that versus defined contribution. That being said, benefits are huge in the organization, a huge cost center as well, but a huge benefit to your employees, especially for you keeping the employees. Take care.